You are now listening to the Mythic Rare podcast with your host, Graham Pollard, and special guest, Jeff, with MTG Jeff.
What's up, everyone? My name is Graham, and today we're going to have some fun on the Mythic Rare podcast. And the fun thing we're going to do is talk to MTG Jeff. Jeff, how's everything? And more importantly, how'd I do with that intro?
Pretty good. That was my intro. It sounded like having fun playing Magic.
Absolutely, yeah. Got some motivation since we're having you on. Thought it would only be appropriate to introduce you the way you're always introduced, but just in a different setting.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So in all of your thank you. And in all your career great accomplishments, how does being the very first special guest on the Mythic Rare podcast rank?
Ranks it's like the top right now. I think that's the best thing has ever had happened to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Talking to you is up there with us too. But yeah, no, it is great talking to you. I've been watching your videos for about a year or so, and I like that you focus mainly on jank decks and just having fun with the game, because that's really what we try to do with this podcast. But one thing I've noticed is that you have really gotten significantly better at playing over the last year or so. Have you ever thought about making a push into the competitive scene at all?
So it's interesting you say that, because I feel like I keep going back and forth where I feel like I am getting better, and I think that the main reason is just because I play so much, I'm able to recognize what deck I'm against almost immediately. Like, people can play one land, and I'm like, okay, I think it's this deck, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
And that just kind of comes. I've noticed that comes more from playing more or watching other people's stuff a lot. Like, before I started doing my channel, I watched MTG Goldfish, I watched Merchant, I was just doing the same type of stuff, and it was one of those things where, like, man, I feel like all these people aren't having fun playing the game as much anymore. It's all about the next best thing. Like, MTG Goldfish was kind of sticking with it, but didn't stay with the stuff I was interested in all that often. And I had actually done 2 other YouTube channels before this, and I was like, you know what, this is actually a really fun channel that I could do on the side. And so I just decided to start. So you said you've been watching it for about a year, and that's about how long I've been doing it now. I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm because I had known how YouTube works. I was like, okay, I just need to, buckle down and actually film, 100 episodes or videos. And once 100 is done, then I can move on to the next thing. Then at that point, I was like, okay, 300, and now I'm at like almost 500 videos. And so it's been really cool to keep going, and yeah, it's been a lot of real awesome growth.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Did you play tabletop at all beforehand, or did you kind of just see Arena come out and think that it was something that you'd like that you would enjoy getting into?
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, one of my buddies, I had met him actually through church, and he was just like, hey, a bunch of us play this game. And I'm one of those where it's like I like to be good at anything I can play, and
Right.
and this, I guess, kind of answers your last question too. Is like, I like to be good at everything I do, but I don't care to be the best. And so I went in and I was just like, oh, this looks really fun. I want to be good. I don't care to be the best, but I was pretty quickly up towards like the top 3 of our local game store shop or whatever, and just was playing quite a bit. I used to run the red-green pummeler deck, with Amonkhet or whatever, with Kaladesh, and so we got really big into that. Went to a GP, and I kind of saw what it would be like to be competitive, and I kind of toned down once rotation happened, but then Arena started coming out like right around that same time, and I just noticed no one was really getting into it. I actually got into the alpha, and I was like, this is a golden opportunity. I have to jump in. And so I'd only been playing Magic for a little bit of time. I knew that I didn't know as much as other people. Like, I have no clue what half the cards in Modern even are.
Right.
Still,
Same here, honestly.
I watch like a lot of MTG Goldfish, but that's what I realize is that there's so many people that are like me that are trying to get into this game, that are trying to, that love the game of Magic, but don't necessarily want to go back 30 years of history like everyone else is expecting you to do. And instead, just bring it towards, hey, this is the fun thing we're doing. I don't need to bore you with all the details. Let's just have fun playing Magic. And that's kind of been my whole focus, is just because I felt like no one was doing that, and I really wanted to.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's funny how you were talking about how you were kind of got into it by going to the local store, and it was a little bit similar to me. I went to a summer camp when I was like 7, and a bunch of people were playing at the summer camp. That was the first time I had heard of the game. So when I came home, me and my mom got a bunch of cards, and we went to our local game shop. And I walked in, and everyone else there was about 25 or so, probably my age, our age now, and they just did not take it easy on me at all.
Yep.
And I still didn't like really know the rules because, I mean, I was 7 years old, and I was tapping wrong, and these guys were just taking it like legit and not playing around. And so that was kind of the end of my tabletop game days after that. But I got really into it again with Arena, like you said, and I think Arena has got just so much potential going forward, and it's so fun. And I'm also kind of the same way where it's like I like to be good at everything, and Magic's the game I feel like I should be good at, and I'm just not that good at it yet, and it's just like killing me that I'm not making it to Mythic all the time. So I'm obsessed with trying new decks and everything. But yeah, that's super cool.
I think Mythic, especially on MTG Arena, is just a grind. Like I haven't actually gone for it yet. Like I've gotten up to Platinum a couple times, and each time I get there, I'm like, I know I could get up to Mythic if I just spent the time doing it, but it's just not worth my time. Like I like playing new decks. I don't like just playing on like my 3 decks that are really good. I instead want to be spending my time brewing new stuff. And now that standard or ranked play is pretty much the only way to play standard on Arena, I could see myself putting a little bit more focus on trying to get up to at least higher ranks. Like I could see myself getting to Platinum or whatever each time. But it wasn't worth the grind beforehand because it was more boring playing against only mono red,
right?
Whatever it's like, which
Absolutely.
was pretty much, you ran into that every other game in ranked, or around that. And if not that, then annoying a really fine-tuned control deck, which is not a place where I want to be testing out my new decks. And so I do think that I think that Wizards of the Coast still does some really silly things here and there, but one of those is just that they've kind of taken away the free play for standard. I'm interested to see how it does. I think that now just everyone is in ranked doing it, and that's not bad. It does make everyone kind of fine tune their decks a bit more, even if they are janky, which I think is good for the game because we are seeing that mono red is only being played like 2% now, or like it's at least in the last standard of Magic the Gathering Online or something like that, it's like 2.5% of the standard decks, and so like that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
It means we're running into a million of Bant land decks, but whatever. At least it's not mono red. I actually am a big fan of mono red. I like to see new things. That's the big thing.
Totally agree. Yeah, I like playing mono red also, but once you play it 8 times in a row, it's hard to like it anymore.
Yeah.
I have actually been going up against it a lot, so that's interesting. I didn't know it was only 2%, and I haven't come up.
Well, that's on
MTG
MTG Online. So
okay.
Arena is going to be a bit different, especially best of one, which we don't really have statistics for. And, well, I wish Wizards, of course, would give us that, or at least a website that, like AetherHub. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I feel like AetherHub is such a great site for everything with Arena, and that's why I'm glad that you guys are starting something up like this. Just grow in any way you guys can, and anyone that is watching this from somewhere else, use AetherHub for everything because I started to, and it has made life so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're a content creator and you want to get into Magic the Gathering, or if you just play and you want to get into content creation, AetherHub is definitely the best website, in my opinion, to start doing that. You can post all your decks, you can post articles. It's great just interaction with everyone in the community. It's definitely helped me out as a player, and I'm glad to hear that it's helping you out as a content creator too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so did you play, so for me, I mean, like I said, I got into Magic when I was like 7 or so, but Yu-Gi-Oh! And like Pokemon were huge growing up in my middle school. Did you ever get into those?
In my, I think elementary school, whatever, I was part of the Elite Four for Pokemon.
Look at you.
But we actually, the thing is that no one played Pokemon when we were first getting into it. Like no one played. It was just a collector's game. And so I remember, I think I was 3rd grade and my brother was in 5th grade, I think. And when we really started getting into it, and I had of course played all the games beforehand, and then I kind of realized that the trading cards were really big too. And so we would go back and forth. So in my hometown, we have like an elementary school for like kindergarten through 3rd grade, and then another one for 4th through 6th, and then up whatever. So I was in the younger school, and I would take the binder like 2 days of the week. He would take it 3 days out of the week, and we would trade until we had like the best collection ever. We had like all the best stuff, and I think we just like one day it became one of those like, oh, cool kids don't do that. And we just like stopped. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's about how it happened for everybody. But like the love for it has never gone away. I still know my first 151 Pokemon by heart. You know, like all the new stuff that came out. Like I follow a little bit. I like the games, but I've really lost the love as much there. But yeah, I never got into the game. I finally learned how to play it like a year or two ago. But I do really. I've always been a big fan of Pokemon, and that's definitely got me in towards this, I guess, the world of geekiness. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a very similar story, except for whatever reason, Pokemon never took off at my, we had a second and third grade with the school. Nobody played Pokemon for whatever reason, but everybody, and when I mean everyone played Yu-Gi-Oh! And I remember there was one time my friend had an Egyptian god card that he just got out of a pack, and some kid stole it from him. And then basically an all-out brawl ensued between like 80 kids trying to get this Egyptian god card. And our principal's office was hilarious that afternoon because there was about 65 kids all crammed into his office over a Yu-Gi-Oh card. And then, I don't know, people just kind of grew out of it. But I've always reminisced on that story. I think that's wild looking back on it, how, when you're that young, you get that fired up about a piece of cardboard.
Well, and it's interesting. So actually what happened is our school ended up banning trading Pokemon cards. Like you couldn't do it. And so like it would be like behind the drinking fountain, like trading deals type of thing, like, or like for a little bit. And then that just kind of grew out for us too. So I think that's actually how it kind of stopped or petered off, is because it became banned. And now the only place to really trade was at school, because your parents don't do that weird stuff.
Exactly. And you have a young kid now. I've seen him climb into your streams. Are you already training him to be the next Mythic champion?
Yeah, heck yeah. No, he just barely turned 1. We're focused on getting him walking, which he's taking his first steps now, which is so awesome.
That's good. Got to get him started young. So
yeah, but yeah, so we'll get him started with Magic for sure. For me, I'm a huge fan of strategy games in general. I had done sports. I was a pretty athletic person, but I hit my growth spurt really late, and so I always try to focus on becoming good at things no one else really did. So like I'm a really big racquetball player, like ping pong, like all these sports that like no one else really did. I spent more time trying to learn those ones, as well as still like I can still play football or whatever I did. But like ultimate frisbee is like I actually played with a city league type stuff for a while with that. Anyway, so like I really enjoy all of like just things like competing. I really enjoy a strategy type of thing. Like for me, the playing was what I love, not necessarily winning. And so anyway, Magic just kind of fit this perfect spot for me. I'd just been married, I finally had the girl of my dreams, and so I no longer cared about my image. And that's kind of how it works, right? It's like, okay, I'm okay being a geek now. And honestly, it's amazing how many guys are kind of coming in from that stage of like, okay, I'm finally like married. I'm finally with the whole high school thing of you can't be a geek. And like Magic is this perfect area for all those kinds of guys, because there's a great community. I don't think I've ever walked into a game shop and not just like loved every person there. Like there's always people that are harder to get along with, but like, but the community is just amazing with Magic the Gathering. That really attracted me towards it. And then just the game itself. Like I like that there's consistently stuff coming out. I was really bothered that it was a pay-to-play type of game, though. It's like, okay, you can play for free. Here's a free deck of cards, which is great. I love that they have that. But it was kind of like, okay, well, you win based off how much you're willing to spend. Yeah. And then Magic Arena came in and finally got rid of that. And that is my favorite thing about Magic right now or MTG Arena, is that it is the new place where you no longer have to pay to play. Like paying money will get you to the cards or the decks you want to play faster, but you really could just be free to play. Get your wild cards that you need, pick 1 or 2 decks that you play, and have a blast doing that just fine with how it is for free. And I love that we're finally at that place.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, my only problem with that is I always get emotional and just burn my wild cards on like day one of a new set, and they never end up being on a good card.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, like, and honestly, that's why I like to keep up with what's in meta. And for me, I keep up with it because then I try to do stuff that's not in meta. Because for my channel, I'm all focused on trying to do stuff that's just fun and entertaining.
Right.
And I very purposely like won't play what MTG Goldfish just did or what other people have done. And I think a lot of people appreciate it, but it does keep me away from ever playing good stuff. And so like I'm actually surprised you said that I was good at the game now because I I feel like I'm so often people are like, why would you be playing this? You're so bad at this game. Like comment section would definitely disagree
Right.
with there.
Yeah, you can't listen to the comment section all the time,
Yeah.
though.
No, honestly, it makes me laugh a lot of times where it's like, you should be doing this. I'm like, that is one of the worst ideas I've ever heard. But sure, some people are just really focused on what they think is right.
Everyone has their own ideas, and they don't have the platform to get it out, so they try to get you to do it, even if it's not a great idea. But you know, they're not going to change their mind. But, yeah, no, I was this time when they did the event where you could play any card you wanted for the first 12 games of Standard.
Yeah,
I made a deck with Lovestruck Beast in it, and just for whatever reason, the 3 games I played with that card was just the MVP, and I was like, okay, this card has got to be like the best card in this format, just because I won like 3 games in a row just with that card.
yeah.
So of course I used all my wild cards on that, and now that card is just mediocre at best. But, you know, that's how it works. And
I think it's actually really good still. I think that so I would disagree that maybe it's not going to be in a lot of decks, but there's a Jund adventure deck that I think is really powerful that I could see climbing the ranks. The biggest issue is whether or not it's going to be a good best of 3 type of deck.
Right.
But I think it still has potential. And if you do Jund Adventure with a Murderous Rider, which Murderous Rider is definitely the winner of this set.
That card is
I like if you can get 4 copies of that, it's going to go into every black deck ever.
Yeah.
Unless you're like splashing, just a little bit of black. But
Right.
Bone Crusher Giant, and then Lovestruck Beast. And you put all those in with Edgewall Innkeeper and the Lucky Clover, and you just have an amazing adventure deck right there. And so that deck has actually been pretty powerful. The issue is that takes a lot of rare wild cards, But,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that does sound good. Yeah, I was using it in like a Simic Oko deck, which at times it's good because you can give it trample with the Vivian Arcbow Ranger, which was the combo I've been doing. And that was good, but it just felt like I took it out, and I think the deck ended up doing better. But anyways, what's the favorite deck that you've made so far that you like the most?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
For me, I really like I make a deck, and then then I move on to the next one. I kind of forget the old ones. There's a few of them that I like. So I guess Mardu Knight's Charge, one that came out recently. I'd actually built that at the very beginning, and I didn't record it till I think it just came out like 2 days ago. But I've been really liking that deck. Like, it's just really fun. It's the new Cavalcade of Calamity type of deck, but with knights, and there's just a lot of spice to it. I like decks where I'm waiting to see what's on the top of my deck, just to like see if this could change everything. And I feel like a lot of decks are just very straightforward. They do the same thing every single game. Like, some people really like that it's consistent. For me, I love the idea, like the red-green pummeler deck that I used to play, where it's like, if I get this card off the top, I win the game. I love that type of deck. It's just so fun.
Yeah, that is pretty exciting.
And so I guess like any deck that really gives me that kind of an option, and that's why I build my decks with a little bit of spice in there instead of like, I know that doing this would be more consistent. And maybe that's the reason I'll never really be competitive, is because I can't bring myself to be boring with my decks.
Right.
Like I have to do the fun thing instead, So
yeah, totally.
And so, which I think that honestly, if anyone's trying to become better, the quickest way to do it is to be more boring. Add that 4th copy of the good card instead of 1 copy of the card that you're trying to fit in, which is usually not very smart. Just like. And that's really like the best way I would say of people getting better is just make that deck list more consistent. Don't go for the jank. And if you're going to go for janky stuff, like, make sure you can fit the whole deck around it. But Just for all the haters out there, all in my comment section, I do recognize that, and I do it for you guys. I put in all the janky stuff for you guys because it's fun.
Totally. Yeah, and I saw you posted a mono blue video on Fork today, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I
Yeah.
feel like you did this in this mono blue deck. But have you got a chance to build a deck with the legendary blue artifact, the Magic Mirror, and are you planning on it if you haven't?
I haven't yet. So I think I did put it into a sideboard of one of the decks. It may have been in that deck. But it's not my style, really.
Okay.
I don't typically play control. I don't typically play that stuff. And I would usually go for it, but Mega Mogwai, Merchant, Convert Go Blue, like all these guys do all these decks before I get to them. And I do all the fun creature decks before they get to them. So it's kind of like I kind of a payoff where I may get to them eventually, but it's kind of sad, but that's one of those cards I may never really play because it just doesn't fit my type of content that I create.
Sure.
Like every deck that would want that is a control
Yeah.
deck. Like if you're a control deck, you're getting stuff in, or like an Izzet Drake's deck type of thing where you're filling your graveyard with stuff really quickly. Maybe the Izzet draw deck would want it, but it's so expensive that it's like even then, like you're waiting until turn 5 before you're really playing it. Because I think it's 9 mana, and it costs less for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard, and then it draws a card based off the number of counters on it each turn, right? Each upkeep.
Yeah, so you put a counter on it each upkeep, and then each upkeep you draw a card. So I was envisioning it in some sort of mill deck.
Well,
or
Psychic Corrosion is
deck
gone, though.
like that. Yeah.
Psychic Corrosion is gone. And so I would love... Actually, I might go back to Historic and use that. That would be a great way to go, actually. Historic with that. But yeah, because Psychic Corrosion is gone, it's not really as good in the format anymore. But otherwise, that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is there a card that you haven't got to build around yet that you're just excited for and you're trying to come up with something good with it?
Yes, Kenrith. No one has yet played a deck with Kenrith. And I've been trying to figure out a way to make him work, but it just doesn't work. The king with all of the abilities, everyone's like, he's so broken. And he is so broken in every format except standard, it feels like. And I'm trying to find a way to break him in standard, like in the constructed decks, and it's just really difficult. He's a hard thing to make work, because he's just at just too expensive to be really, really good. Everything at that, like at 5-6, because like for 5 mana he's pretty good, and then if you have abilities, so basically what I need to do is I need to play a Fires of Invention deck with Kenrith.
Right.
And have the rest of the deck somehow work with it. Like that's kind of where I'm at right now.
No, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually was talking about a deck in our first podcast that someone used making that card, and this guy's name is Mono Black Magic. He nailed it with this. I think this is one of the coolest decks I've seen. So he uses Kenrith with Fires of Invention, like you said. But then the other top end is he uses Ilharg the Raise Boar, I believe the name is, the red boar god. Yeah. And then Agent of Treachery. So in one turn, theoretically, he can play Kenrith, the boar god, and then give it haste with Kenrith's ability, and then play Agent of Treachery. So that is just a ridiculous turn. That's basically a game-winning turn right away when you get that out. I think he also
that feels like that can't be consistent at all, though. But that's a crazy fun deck. But I feel like there's so many pieces he has in that it would make it very difficult to be consistent.
Yeah, totally.
But maybe not. Like Fires of Invention, I think, is the other card where it's like, okay, I haven't played with it yet, and I really need to, because it is probably the next most broken card in the set, where like it just turns on so many things. And one of the cards that actually makes me excited to go back to Historic as well, just because it's a game changer enough that it can change any deck as long as you get it down, And so I am a big fan of Fires of Invention. I'm excited to see what that one will really do.
Yeah, I've gone up against a lot of people playing Mogwai's Gracious deck with that, and that deck is pretty scary if it gets going, because if you can get Chandra and the Dragon God Nicol Bolas down in the same turn, that's also kind of
it's ridiculous.
With that card, if you don't have the pieces in your hand, it's not going to do much. But if you've got the pieces, it's a scary top end.
Oh, this is a really important thing to announce. If you guys aren't already, start playing enchantment removal because of Doom. Doom's Foretold and Fires of Invention, you need to start playing enchantment removal. I think Mortify is one of the best removal spells. Everyone is taking it out because of Murderous Rider, but I think that you really want to be playing the Mortify because enchantment removal is definitely important right now. And not only that, but I think Happily Ever After actually has a good chance with some other decks I've seen. I didn't expect it to do very well, but MTG Goldfish just came out with a version that is really good with Happily Ever After. I've seen a few others where they're playing the Sphinx, which is all colors, so it's just like a Selesnya or a Bant kind of control-y, kind of rampy deck getting up to the Sphinx and Happily Ever After. But so I think enchantment removal is actually very important right now.
Yeah, I'm interested if the green mana adventure card, the Flaxen Intruder, is actually going to get played, because that card is pretty terrible, but it does have the artifact, and as a sideboard card, I'd be interested as the season progresses if that gets included in some competitive decks.
Yeah.
Probably not, but
I could see maybe it being like a sideboard card in a green and something aggro deck.
Yeah,
but that's about it. Yeah, so it's like the issue is I think it's even a human, so like it doesn't work with the Wildwood Tracker.
Okay,
Which I honestly think that's another deck we haven't really seen fully play out is like either Golgari or a Gruul aggro deck that's just really solid. Like instead of trying to stick with a synergy, just good value town type of stuff. I think that one of those decks will kind of pull towards the top here before long. I like the Rakdos aggro deck that people have been playing. I think that I think Fling is going to be in there. So that's another deck I've been brewing right now is like a Clackbridge Troll Fling deck. There's a lot of, and that's one of the things that I actually like about this meta right now is that even though there's some really good things out there that people have really fine-tuned, I don't feel like, especially in best of one, I could bring almost any deck in there and feel like I'm going to win against almost any other deck. Just because it just matters if I get my combo off and start going before they get their stuff going, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Which does kind of change the gameplay a little bit. Like it feels a little bit lucky. Like, okay, well, how good is their hand? Can I actually hold out for 2 turns, 3 turns? I'm not sure. And I can see, I'm actually thinking I might be going more towards best of 3 in the future because the format's kind of like that, where it's like, okay, I actually do want to be more consistent, try to find a deck that, like in the course of 3 games, I'm going to be winning 2 of them. So we'll see. I may go back towards that. If I do, I'll probably start trying to build something more competitive at that point.
Yeah. The deck I've been playing recently is I'm really trying, and maybe I can get some advice from you on this, but I'm really trying to make a deck combo work with Spark Double and Garrick, because if you put Garrick down and then you put Spark Double down, you can ultimate Garrick immediately with the Spark Double, which is pretty insane because you can get 4 or 5/5 with Trample. And the first 3 or 4 days I was playing, I was winning 75%, and then the last 2 days it feels like I've been winning 10% with it. So things have just totally turned on its head. But
it's crazy. Are you running Risen Reef and Leafkin Druid in there?
I did initially, and I took it out. But what I'm doing now, and I think this is actually one of the more clever things I've done, is I'm only running blue and green lands, but then I'm also running 4 Interplanar Beacon, and then 4 Paradise Druid and 4 Gilded Goose to actually be able to play Garrick. And I found that you can get that off so frequently that I actually added a Johnny the Gearhearted in too, just because why not, to make it 4 colors. And it doesn't sound like it would work, but it's worked surprisingly well. So I'm still tuning it, and I'm going to post it on Aether Hub when I get it going. But that's a really fun deck.
That definitely sounds interesting. I think Sultai is so good now. The only reason I would say not to go out of black is because of Murderous Rider. It's when I was like, if you are playing black, might as well get the value from that. But that sounds like a great deck. I actually might have to build that. I might steal the idea and build my own version. I won't be 4-color, but I'll build my own version.
Yeah, the 4-color one was strictly just to try it out. I didn't think that would be good. And then I was surprised by how good a Johnny the Gearhearted giving everything a +1/+1 counter is. So this is when I really got crazy. So I have Oko, and then I have the card, I'm blanking on the name now, but it gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you play a token. And then I got a couple other token generator cards in there. And then I found this card that I've never seen anyone play before. It's called Skatewing Spy, and it's whenever a creature or all your creatures with a +1/+1 counter gain flying.
Oh yes, yeah.
So basically, the strategy is to give all your creatures +1/+1 counter with a Johnny, and then you can have
has adapt, right?
Yeah, it does have adapt. Yep, but the adapt is like 6 mana. So
I think it's 5. Yeah, it's
5. Yeah, so it's not incredibly worth it. But I mean, it's one of those things that's inconsistent, but it is really fun to get off because I love playing a deck where you play a card and then you can see the person that you're playing has to like read the card because they've never seen it before.
Yeah,
especially if you can win with that.
Yeah, that's like there was the merfolk that any creature with counters on them would be unblockable in Ixalan.
Yeah.
And I loved winning with that one with like an Explorer deck or something. It's actually a really good strategy. The hard part is, the issue with those creatures for as far as consistency goes is when you're swinging in, people can remove them and then block after you've already attacked in with your block, then attacking unfavorably. That's the biggest issue with consistency. But as far as for fun and jank, those are some of my favorite cards. I love those like gotcha type of cards.
Right.
Yeah, like, yeah. Why can't I block these guys? What just happened? Yeah, that's right. I love that.
Yeah, another combo I've been trying to get off that's kind of on the same vine is Nissa and Planewide Celebration. Because with that combo, if you play Nissa, you can ramp into Planewide Celebration, and then you can proliferate 4 times with it, which means you can ultimate Nissa the next turn. So not only do you ultimate Nissa, but you have a 7/7 Vigilance with Trample, or with Indestructible, out on the battlefield. So I tried to merge those two combos, the Garrett combo and that combo, into one deck, and it works like 10% of the time, but when it works, it's very fun to play.
Like I said before, the hard part is trying to break out, like you say, no to these things and more to the consistent things. But at the same time, that's one of my favorite things about Magic is playing the janky fun stuff. Like, can I make this work? And I think that's why I think there needs to be a place where you're not playing ranked all of the time, is because there are decks where it's okay, I'm just going to see how good I can do. I want to win as many games as I can. And then there's other decks where it's just like, if I can even mill them out one time, I am so happy. Like in the course of like 5 games, I will be thrilled. Like I tried to do a blue-black Lucky Mill deck, like a Lucky Clover Mill deck, before I did this mono blue one. And I actually recorded like for like 2 hours, and I couldn't use any of the videos because I would get like one good one off, but there were so many that were bad, I just couldn't use it. And so that was kind of an issue. I do actually record quite a few videos that I don't end up using. For all the haters out there, again, I don't give you all the crap, just some of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. So like now and since Eldraine came out like a week ago, I'm sure you've got a lot of ideas for decks, but as like the standard progresses like 2-3 months from now, how do you like keep coming up with ideas every day?
Well, I love that we now have Brawl and Historic that are going to be in the format. I mean, I wish Brawl was a everyday type of thing. I don't know why Wizards isn't doing that. That's really silly of them.
Yeah, I know.
I think they're waiting to release the Brawl decks together, and then they're going to like have that be a big sale, so then you can have it. So that's my thoughts. It's a good opportunity for them to sell a bit more of the cards, but. I think that with Historic and Brawl, I'm not worried at all anymore. Before it was a little bit difficult. Like I was doing, even on some of these sets, I was doing like 2 videos a day, or I was doing about 10 videos a day consistently, 10 videos a week consistently, sometimes up to 14 or more. And it was that was taking a toll on me. It's hard to come up with good content, for 120 decks every 3 months. Yeah. And so I've actually finally cut down. I'm actually thinking of changing up my channel a little bit. I may even stop doing live streaming on my channel. And this is something Convert Go Blue has just recently done. I actually talked to him about it and just trying to figure out what I might do. But and he's been crushing it lately. But I'm toning down my channel to just do 1 video a day, just standard or historic, maybe Brawl, just like the basic, what everyone is into. And then I'm going to have a second channel that's going to be all of the extra stuff, like the sealed events, the drafts, all those things I want to do, but they don't do well on my channel.
Right.
And you know how it goes with numbers. If the numbers say it, you have to do it. That's how this game works nowadays. And I hate that, because then it means like I'm not doing some things that other people like. But I'm thinking of actually creating a second channel where I may do a just all of the extra stuff. So I mean, I'm not sure if this podcast will have comments, but leave it down in the comments below if you guys would like me to do something like that. If it's a good idea to have like all the extra things into another place, another bin for people to watch, for just people that like everything else.
Yeah, we'll have comments, so definitely give some feedback. Yeah. Kind of what you're saying. So I think that's a good idea personally. But for someone out there that's trying to get into streaming and might be struggling with like a similar situation of doing what they want to do versus doing what other people, or what's getting more views, what's some advice you would have for them?
The numbers are your master. that is the answer now. It's the numbers are your answer, and I can tell you a lot of what the numbers will say. So, and with this, it depends between live streaming or YouTube. I have done YouTube for a long time now. I've done YouTube for longer than I have any other career now in my life. So I'm not many people know this, but I actually edited for my brother's channel, which has like 2 million subscribers now.
Wow.
And I helped to do a lot of stuff for him. I learned a lot from him. And then I took that knowledge and I went and edited for my cousin, or it was my stepdad's business, called Rodeo Video, and I edited for them. I got them to 100,000 subscribers in a year.
Nice.
Doing a rodeo, a day in the life of a cowboy type of vlog, which did really, really well. And then I finally was like, I just want to try out stuff for myself. And I actually started up another business. I had done a few other things. Before I started doing Magic the Gathering, I had built up, I think I had 3 or 4 other jobs before I even started this. Between like consulting for 2 different businesses of social media marketing, doing all this different stuff. Anyways, I am getting back to your question.
Yeah, no, I like to keep going.
Way. Yeah, so I had done all these other things, and I finally was just like, I need to do something that I enjoy and is relaxing for me, and something that's easy. And so honestly, Magic the Gathering came out as the thing that was easy to do for me during all of that stuff. That was just something consistent that I could do, because as long as you're using OBS Studios the right way, you film to the edit, you film the right way, so you don't have to edit too much, whatever. So then creating a video is actually pretty simple with Magic the Gathering. I try to do more and more things, and usually doing more and more things actually hurts me. And that's what I mean by coming back to following the numbers. So for me, it's been really difficult, but I keep wanting to do more and more stuff, but the numbers say do 1 video a day. Like, don't do 2. Stop doing 2. The numbers are saying stop live streaming on my channel, but I keep telling my guys, like, I want to keep live streaming, but it's basically every time I live stream, it actually costs me $200.
Wow.
And so it's like that doesn't feel good. At least if I'm live streaming on my YouTube channel. And so what I need to do is I have to go back and so I'm taking a dose of my own medicine with this as well right now. But do what the numbers say. The numbers say right now that I ought to start streaming either on a different channel or on a different platform. Use those videos to create on a different channel that is set up for all this kind of stuff, for like the super fans that want to see extra things, which is great. I have a place for that. But my channel will do better if I just follow the numbers, do 1 video a day. So it's actually hard to limit yourself sometimes, because this is one of those businesses where there's always more stuff to do, and knowing which stuff is actually going to be effective is the hardest part of the game. You can work yourself ragged in this. People always look at YouTubers or streamers and like, they just get to play their game for a living, and it's like, yeah, they do get to play that game for the living, but that comes with so much other stuff that they don't get to see. You're paid based off the quality of decisions that you make. And that's one of the things, is that there's a lot of really difficult decisions that you're making every single day in this business, where you are deciding, how to entertain a bunch of people, and the more people that you have, the harder that decision gets. It's like,
Right.
and so Sorry, I'm on a little soapbox right now, but that's kind of where I've been. Is I've kind of been focusing finally, like, okay, you know what? I need to stop trying to do the thing that I want to do and actually work on what the numbers say. I have to stop. It's been hard. Like I let one of my friends start doing videos on my channel, and I had to tell them I can't do it anymore. That was just like yesterday. But it's like it just the numbers don't lie, and the numbers say that it's bad for my business, and so you can do it on the other channel when I get it going. So it's like, but it's so difficult but if you're trying to make this your lifestyle, you have to make it a business type decisions that you're making every time. And anyway, sorry, I think I'm more venting now than I am.
No, that was an awesome answer. I think that was actually incredibly helpful for everyone. Kind of the key takeaway I have there, and what I agree with the most, is where you're talking about you have to go into it with a business mindset, because so many people, they see people like you streaming and they just see the 45-minute video that you put out there, and they're like, oh my God, this guy gets paid to play Magic. Like, why can't I do that? So they start thinking that it's going to be fun, and they don't understand that it's a business, and like any business, you need to put in time to grow your business. Yep. You need to market yourself. You need to analyze numbers. You need to be good with finance, at least a basic understanding of finance and how all that works. But one thing you mentioned in your little soapbox tangent there, no, I'm just kidding. But one thing that I want to touch back on, you said your uncle is in the rodeo or does rodeo videos.
Yeah. So it's my stepdad's business. Okay, I really not get into it too much, but so rodeo video. And I actually didn't know this until I started working with him more. But apparently, my stepdad's business was like one of the number one businesses in filming rodeos.
Yeah, who would have known?
Go figure, And so that's actually where I got a lot of loving video, loving editing, and so I had actually done a lot of that stuff beforehand. But I never liked rodeo stuff. And sorry, I guess I cut you off before your actual question. But yeah.
No, that was basically what I was going to get at. Are you from like a ranching area, or is it just?
I'm small town Arizona, and yes, we do get rain here, but
that was my next question.
Like we pray for it. It's one of those where it's like I grew up not really doing a lot. He was my stepdad, and so it was one of those like we kind of did stuff, but he was more focused on his kids on getting. It's a hard situation. I don't want to say everything there, because like I have a great relationship with my stepdad. Is everything like that's not the thing, but his it ended up being like he's passing off the land and all that stuff off to a cousin, and that was already established before we even came into the picture.
Yep.
And so it's one of those where like he wanted us to come help and do stuff, but not really get too tied to the ranch. And so I never really got too tied to being a cowboy, but I am in some ways a cowboy. Like I am like I go out and ride horses. I used to brand cattle. I did all this stuff, and for a year I was creating videos all about doing that kind of stuff, and I loved the videos I created for that channel. And that's another as far as like going back to do what the numbers say for that channel, that's part of the reason I left. Was for a year we were doing great. All my videos were like, okay, I asked them when you're filming, hey, do this, and this. And every time they did, we would have a huge videos. Like I have quite a few videos that are up over 1 million views on their channel. And they just weren't willing to keep doing those things. And now their channel's really suffering. It's growing still. They're still getting views, but it's about a quarter of what they were doing before. And that's just sad to see. And that's the hardest part, is that sometimes you just want to do what's easier or what you can get away with doing. Yep. But you have to actually go above and beyond and make it work. And that's, again, I'm preaching to myself here again, but there's just a lot that goes into it. There's always more. And that's difficult sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's great advice for everyone. I never pictured you as a cowboy. I'm not going to lie, man. I think that's super interesting. But what does your brother do? That he's got 2 million subscribers, you said? Is he in gaming too?
He does a family vlog.
Oh, gotcha.
So I had done a lot of vlogging before I'd ever gotten into family. So I did a lot of very YouTube type of stuff. I'm not sure where you're really wanting to go with this this whole podcast, but I can dive in. So my brother is actually a lawyer, and he does lots of law stuff for YouTube as well, and is pretty much at war with the FTC and YouTube right now because of everything that they've been doing with this new. So FTC sued YouTube for $170 million. YouTube is changing their entire structure right now, where they're actually pretty much at war against anyone that is family friendly, like right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I've not heard anything about that, actually.
Yeah, there's this whole stuff going on, and that's the whole thing is no one's they don't want anyone to know. They're trying to go under the radar, and there's a lot of discrimination possibility out here. And then I don't want to bore people out with it, but it is actually a really big deal. Like so the FTC came out and said that YouTube was in violation against the law called COPPA, COPPA, Children's Online Protection, whatever. And basically said that because YouTube was advertising or actually gathering information on kids, and that what they are counting as kids, and this is what just barely changed, is they are counting kids that are watching on their parents' accounts. So even if a kid just, hey, here's my phone, you can watch whatever you want, which I've done with my son, and he's one. It's like, like I've done this where it's like, hey, watch this thing to keep you entertained for a little bit. If YouTube is gathering information on those people, and they can be proven by data to be kids, or most likely to be kids, then they are in violation of gathering data to use it for advertising, which was against the law. I think it's a very out-of-date law. A lot of people are in agreement, but COPPA's kind of on its own thing. So the FTC has come out and basically said that any family-friendly content creator, it's like fish in the barrel for them. They can just have at any one of these guys and sue them for lots of money. And so I actually have to almost change my content right now to not be family friendly, because they're using family friendly basically as a bad word. It's really interesting what they're doing. FTC is being really greedy, going after stuff in really stupid ways. It's a very political type of world, but the consequence is that it is going to hit YouTube hard. And
That's
people
wild.
don't understand how big this is going to be. It's going to be a lot bigger than the last adpocalypse, which rocked the world a lot, and not only that, but like it's going to have the same effect on, like, they basically said FTC is like, yeah, so YouTube was the first Goliath, next is going to be anything else, Facebook, Twitch, anyone that is on this more family friendly type of side, which Twitch I think will be a little bit safe there. And that's one of the things I actually avoided it for initially, but now I might be jumping more on board with there. So so anyone that's out there that is doing YouTube stuff or was thinking about jumping in, I would definitely wait a little bit here. And know that it's actually kind of cool. My brother is one of the few guys that's actually meeting with all of the leaders of people making these decisions. He's actually going to the lobbyists. He's going to all these kinds of guys that's going to be doing all this kind of stuff. And whether or not that's actually going to be enough, we'll see. But I think that it will at least turn some heads, turn some ears, I guess, towards our cause, and hopefully help it out over the next couple of years. But that's still not going to change might happen. So 4 months, January 1st, I guess it's 3 months now, YouTube is rolling out a whole situation where if you are focused on kid content type of stuff, you are basically losing 85% of your revenue.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you never know what direction the Mythic Rare podcast is going to go, but I can't believe I'm totally in the dark on that. I've never heard anyone talk about that. I'm glad that you mentioned that to get that info out there.
Well, Google's kind of been trying to keep it out of people's hands because, YouTube's owned by Google.
Yeah.
FTC sued Google/YouTube for $170 million, and basically YouTube has said, well, who gets hurt every time we get hurt? The content creators. And so they've kind of kept it on the DL that they are totally screwing us content creators with some policy changes that they're making, which that's one of my things that my brother's saying is like, well, it's like, if you guys make this policy change, I can come back at you for just what's it called?
I know what you're trying to get at. I'm blanking on the word too.
Not discrepancy.
What is it?
I
Well,
can't think of it. Yeah, anyway, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw it on the tip of my tongue. I just can't say it. That's okay.
Me too.
Um,
That's okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, I know I didn't want to jump into this really, but I think it is important to raise awareness, at least in some case, that we do need warriors out there, and it is one of those where like raising pitchforks isn't what's going to help. It is going to take people that have a good argument, that are willing to go in and say like, hey, let's actually have this conversation. Like, what do you think is going to happen if we can't, like, it really does take people saying like, hey, we actually do want to protect family friendly content. Like, I actually do want to be able to watch this stuff. Like, I get comments every single day saying, hey, thank you so much for keeping the language clean so that I can watch this with my kids.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I actually started the channel, as well as I liked watching Merchant, I like watching Mega Mogwai or whatever, or Noxious, but I couldn't watch while my wife was in the room because she's really not a fan of that kind of stuff. And so it's just one of those, like, I wanted to, like, you know what, no one's really doing this except MTG Goldfish. I felt like he was doing a really good job with it, but no one else really is. And so I might as well jump into that spot and see if how I could do. And I honestly, because I had just come from two really massive channels that had done really well, I'm actually bummed with how much I have grown. I'm wanting to be 3 times bigger than I am already. But at the same time, I've done well with like I think I've grown faster than any other Magic the Gathering channel has in history.
I think you're definitely going to get
except
there, man.
Except maybe Mono Black Magic. You mentioned him earlier. He's been crushing it.
He's just an absolute genius when it comes to deck making. His brain just works on a whole different level from everyone else.
And he's just a really hilarious guy. Like,
yeah,
he's really hilarious, and his thumbnails are really good. Like that, those are all really important things that and for me, I shot myself in the foot by making 14 videos in a week instead of just focusing on what's good. Like, I wasn't focusing on what the numbers were saying for like 3 months.
Yeah, man, no, that was incredible stuff, and I'm really glad that you took the time to bring that up, and hopefully people listening will, just be more aware of what's going on. And I think, because maybe I'm wrong on this, but it kind of seems to me that the type of people that watch the gaming YouTube isn't really aware of how big the family-friendly YouTube is. And family-friendly, like the family vlogs, are absolutely massive on YouTube. And it's funny, when I worked in the radio business, I got yelled at almost every day for not being family-friendly enough. And now here you're going saying that, YouTube doesn't want you to be family-friendly. That's just absolutely, my mind is blown.
Well, YouTube's policy is still that. And again, this is something that just barely came out against them. They didn't expect it. Like they are also the victim for sure. That's FTC, which is stupid. But at the same time, you still can't be too non-family friendly or whatever. Like you have to, if you go too far, then you get demonetized on that side. and so like that's something. And the reason why is because if they don't, then advertisers pull out. That's what happened with the Adpocalypse. And my other channel, the Rodeo video channel that I did, got hugely hit by that Adpocalypse because I was trying to show people, hey, this is how cowboys, castrate bulls, whatever, like cut horns off of cattle. We need to do it for our business. And those videos were getting massive amounts of views. And I went from making like 6,000 to 7,000 a month on that channel to like 2,000 a month, because everything got cut. We just had to completely change everything. Yeah. So it's like, every time YouTube makes these big changes, it really does affect things a lot. And so like that's another reason why I did jump out and to do something different, which, something family friendly. But now that I'm family friendly, and it's one of those where like, I don't think it'll be too big of a deal, but because even if like I'm not sure if you have kids or, but like, let's say like for me, I watch, MTG Goldfish, Noxious, I watch all these guys all the time. But I also let my son watch stuff on my account every once in a while as well. YouTube may flag me as a kid or a potential kid, and they will no longer receive revenue from my view. And how many of those are out there for every channel?
That's got to be like incredibly common issue for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I there's just, and it depends on if, I'm not sure like when they're actually going to say, okay, this is a kid, this is not. There are some changes. I think that overall it'll only affect it for the first like year or so, and then it'll bounce back. But that year or two of it really affecting it is going to be big. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then I think it'll bounce back because advertisers are going to pay to get ads in front of people in no matter way. And the way the law works is basically saying is like, well, you can no longer do specified ads. So instead, channels will be able to change their account to just being focused just towards kids. And then if those accounts are just towards kids, then advertisers can find them in a different way, and it goes over the COPPA law there. But the issue is the FTC is also coming out and saying, well, we're just going to start, taking down family-friendly content creators themselves and this kind of stuff. And so it's, who knows what's actually going to happen. I'm hoping that FTC is going to get stopped in their tracks. I think it's something that's really important that needs to happen. But yeah, so that's just so you know, we've been on the front lines of this stuff for a while. I've been, even though I'm a small channel, I've at least gotten a lot more knowledge about it than most people have, because I know a lot of really big YouTubers because I worked in that industry for a little bit, so.
Totally. Yeah,
anyway.
no, you mentioned that, well, first of all, I think, it's really, really great, as I said earlier, to get that out there, and I'm really glad that we took the time to go over that, and hopefully people out there listening enjoyed that as much as I just did, because I thought that was incredibly interesting. But you mentioned that, you're trying to grow your channel even more, obviously, as everyone is, and I think AverHub is the best place to do that, and we really appreciate you coming on, and we're definitely going to be trying our hardest to promote you and to promote all the content creators out there. And, hopefully the AverHub community as a whole, with this podcast and with everyone out there doing a great job making videos, hopefully we're all going to be getting to where we want to be soon. But before I let you go, I got to ask if you can give us maybe a sneak peek to the next deck that you're going to come out with.
The next one, so I'm actually like 7 videos ahead right now.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of work, but
Nice.
the next one is mono white lifelink deck, which I think is so fun. The lifelink with Linden, the Steadfast Queen, it makes it just really pop off, and it's a really fun deck.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. That sounds awesome. And Jeff, we really appreciate you coming on. Jeff with MTG Jeff. Anytime you want to come back, we'd be happy to have you. But love talking to you today. And
Thank you.
take it easy, man.